Okay, the reason I started this group is because I personally am against having a solar project out here in Dike, Texas. And I'm assuming that's why you're here as well. Anyway, a lot of research, just making phone calls, trying to find out who Alpen's son was. What country were they in? How big was this thing? And it just, you know, it took a while, and you all didn't even know about it. And then when I found out how big it was going to be and what it was going to do, and that Jonas Helms was going to be this massive thing of panels, along with Mary Jean Miles, I got in touch with all of you all, and most of you all got a flyer stuck in your mailbox illegally. I unfortunately didn't know that. But you got flyers, and then we started. So here we are today, and now Alpen's son has already sold those leases over to Energy that's out of Paris, France. So now we have a whole new group that's working. This group doesn't care if you cut down your trees, they'll do it for you. And they have submitted, I'll let Michael tell you some of the details about that. He's better about that, but I just want to, is there a possibility to fight this solar? Yes, there's hope, and I just really want to encourage, I mean, it's great the numbers we have today. And the next meeting, there should be bigger numbers, because it's going to take all of us, excuse me, it really is going to take all of us. And the louder we are, and the more consistently loud we are, the better off we're all going to be. Because raise your hand if you knew that this was coming in early 2019. Who knew? JJ knew. This is my researcher spokesperson, son Michael, and I'm going to let him, he's a really good one to answer all the detailed questions and research questions. So,
hey guys, I'm Michael Pickens. I'm spokesman for Save Dike from Solar. My stepdaddy was Jim Martin, and that's why my mom and I have a different last name. So Jim came into our life in 1986. So, you know, this farm is incredibly important to us. Jim's no longer with us, but, you know, we're carrying on what he would have done 110%. So we have three objectives, the reason why we called this meeting. The first one is just the reality of the project. This is not a solar farm. It's a solar industrial power plant complex, okay? Now we've got Ryan Economy, who's the project manager for Engie. That's the new French power plant company that's putting this thing in. We've got them all over Mom trying to lease her property, clear cut, you know, 600 acres of forest for this project. The stuff I'm about to tell you is coming from his mouth that we've had on emails, and I've got a Zoom meeting, an hour Zoom meeting recorded, legally recorded. You know, so this is out of the horse's mouth. There will be 80 inverters along the KB line. Each inverter is the size of a shipping container. And each inverter will make 80 to 85 decibels apiece. That's like, what, a diesel generator, Luke, about?
Yeah, something like it.
Yeah. So it's loud. And he said, when I asked how loud it's going to be, he said it'll sound like a major highway going through Dike. Okay? Secondly, they've got to put in substations. These are huge office-sized buildings that convert, from what I understand, the solar energy to the power to sell it up to Dallas. Now these substations, at least two we know of, are going right across the fence from the Jocelyn property. No one notified anybody about this stuff. So when Christian Hollenkamp shows up to your door, or any other Engie representative, and tells you that it's a solar farm with little pylons and panels, they're not telling you the truth. They want you to think that this is a low-impact operation, and it's not. Our attorney, Fron and Grisham, down in Austin, they pulled up a huge list. There's 7 big solar projects that have been cleared for Hopkins County. This one will be the largest if they pull off what they want to pull off. And it will be 3,000 acres if they get what they want to get. Okay? I kind of move to my second objective here in terms of the environmental destruction. These guys want everything cleared off. Every tree stump, everything will be gone. And what we were told when we brought up the fact that this is bottomland, it's clay and it floods, they said no problem, we're going to put 3 to 5 feet of concrete down and rocks as a foundation to make sure the panels stay above the flood water. Now I'll go back to Alpensun, the German solar company that started all this 2 years ago. Their original lease agreement said, we will never build on any land that has trees, creeks, or flood-prone areas. Well, that's Dike. I mean, this is dry right now for March. We're going to get a rain tomorrow. Yeah, we're going to have, we'll be, wearing rubber boots walking around outside. Okay, and so these guys are building a big solar operation where they officially said they would never build. It's bad stuff. It will be game over for this town. And at least in terms of everything east of 69, it will be a solar industrial complex. And once they get moving in and constructing this thing, it's going to be a nightmare. And anybody that hasn't signed a lease option will want to get out. Now there's a UT Austin study out of 2018, I think is the year, that says everybody's property value is going to go down 20% if you're next to a solar operation. So even if you want to sell and get away from it a year from now, no one's going to buy it. So you'll probably be forced to maybe, if you're lucky, lease with Engie for 35 years. You'll even get paid for 2 years till the project is finished. Now I've talked to a firm down in Austin. They did the tax abatement for this project. They had no idea that there was opposition to it at all. They had no idea that a French power plant company is trying to chop down over 1,000 acres of forest. They had no idea that the community was not a part of this project from the beginning. They said on these tax break 313s that the community should have been a part of it, going for it from the very start. Okay? They also said that Engie, the French power plant company, does not want bad press. That they would freak out if they knew that it got out that this town was against it. So that moves into number 3. The hope to shut this thing down. Because there is hope that we're going to do it. It's been done by David Dunnigan down in Van Zandt County. He raised a huge grassroots operation. They threw a fit for, I think, 2 years. And the county commissioners took away the tax breaks and the company was gone. That's why this company is here, is for the tax breaks and the KV line. That's all it is. These guys are going to turn around and flip this project and sell it before it's finished. That's what Engie does. That's how they're making their money. They don't care about you or the environment or the community 40 years down the line. They're going to make their money and then they're going to get out of town. Okay? So, the hope. We've got a great law firm down in Austin that's hired. Now, they were recommended by the Texas Conservation Alliance, and they're good stuff. We got Joanne Hatton as our lead attorney. If this thing were to go to litigation, we pull in the head guy of the firm, and we go hard on it, okay? And we're looking at all that. If we need to file lawsuits against the county commissioners for it, or a landowner, or especially the French power plant company, we're going to do it. Where it's legally appropriate, we will file lawsuits. And we'll take this to court if we can. What I think we can do is smear this company for sneaking in here behind everybody's back and destroying the environment for a massive, one of the largest solar power plants in the state of Texas. They don't want people to know. Officially, if you go to their website, it's about clean energy, and they work with the community, and they have an ethics code. Big shiny pictures of one windmill in the middle of a farm, or, little thin panels in the middle of grasses. That's not what's going on. It's not the reality. It's nothing but PR.
Just trying to what it will actually be when it's built with the chain link fences and the people.
Right. So the solar panels, this is expensive stuff, and, all these massive, rows of solar panels are going to be surrounded by 17-foot high chain link fences. There'll be security cameras all around making sure that no one's, sabotaging it or something. And there'll be roads all over the place. They've also claimed that they're going to get the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers out here to build massive bridges and big concrete structures over all our water bodies to, I guess make sure that the whole thing doesn't flood out. The Army Corps of Engineers wasn't aware of the big plans that NG has in mind, but NG has big plans. What else am I leaving out?
Well, let's say if you lease out your land and you've got solar panels on it, you won't be allowed to go on your property at all. I mean, on your four-wheeler. You can't walk on it. So once it's leased to them, you're like trespassing if you're to go on your property. The other thing that you have to realize, these tax abatements are going to be finished in about 10 years. And what's going to happen in 10 years? Solar graveyard probably, they're going to leave. If there's no money, there's no tax incentive, they're going to leave. There's not going to be anybody out here being a good steward and trying to help anybody out for 35 years. Ron Economy kept saying, oh, but Miss Martin, just think, what, you'll be a millionaire in 35 years. I said, hell, I'll be dead. I said, I'll be 100, and if I'm not, I'll wish I was. But that's not going to help me at 100 years old. So, their sell pitches, well, and he also said, oh no, we'll plant, well, Alpen Christian Hollenkamp gave us information, and it said that they were going to use herbicides underneath the panels, and it even listed the name Roundup. Then Ron Economy found out that I was a little upset about that, so he said, oh no, we'll plant native grasses, which he couldn't name one, and we'll hire somebody from the community to come in and mow. I said, so you're going to hire someone to come in with the push mower and mow under the panels? He goes, yeah, we'll do that. Now, we all know that's not going to happen either. And this doesn't bring any jobs to anybody. They'll bring in their own crew to put this stuff up. They have to. For insurance purposes, they have to bring their own trained individuals in here to put this stuff up. There's no jobs for any of our community. That's what the 313 tax abatement was supposed to do. Bring business and give jobs. And that's not happening. Not with this. You may want to hear your guest too. Anything else? Anybody, questions for Michael?
Yes.
Make sure I understand this. Our commissioner's court gave them a tax abatement. That's why they're here.
Yes, sir. Yeah, tax
So our commissioner's court did it.
Yes, sir.
Thank you all. You heard it.
And the school board.
And the school board.
Yeah.
Yep.
That one Wade's not here.
Second thing is,
without asking, this is what I want.
second thing, are they really going to pull all those 3,000 acre timber and to be environmentally friendly?
Well, it's at least 1,000 acres. Yes, sir. They get what they want.
1,000 acre timber to be environmentally friendly, but we're going to go to. That's not accepting the environment.
No, sir.
Thank you.
I didn't know anything about it.
I spoke with the judge last week to ask him specific questions about that. And I was told by him that they had a meeting on August 1st of 2019. And that was the meeting that everybody was supposed to come to and ask their questions. And I told him, I says, number one, I just moved here August 8th of 2019. So there was no way I was notified. I said, how did you notify? He notified an ad in the paper, little itty bitty thing that said nothing about solar at all.
Or Dike.
Or Dike. It said nothing.
You come to Dike and you get us together in Dike. This is our
Right. Well, and basically he told me that this was a business deal and that we should have come to that meeting to do the questions then. When I asked him why he didn't ask the questions, he could not give me an answer.
I think Renee brought this up. She went and researched it a little bit.
We get them all out.
75437 zip code. That's Dike, y'all. It goes all the way up to Hatchville. Yeah. All right. 38 people get the newspaper. And there's 300. Yeah, 375, 380 households. 38 people.
But it still wouldn't have mattered, even if everybody took the paper and read it cover to cover. It didn't say one word about Dike. It said Hopkins Energy How would anybody know what that is? It said just come to a meeting, talk about Hopkins Energy.
So in other words, this was snuck in on it?
Yes, ma'am.
That's,
And the fact that we're not incorporated, we don't have a mayor and elected officials, then they felt like their due diligence was putting that little, come listen to a meeting about Hopkins Energy was sufficient. But they know, they have to know it's not. They have to know that, I mean, this is why we're here today. This is why we all need to make a whole lot of noise. And Wade needs to hear from everybody. Newsom needs to hear from everybody. The school boards need to hear from everybody. And we've got Sulphur Springs School Board, Renee, meeting on the 18th.
Yeah, we'll be there. I'll be there.
So, I mean, the more people that show up, I don't care if you're shy and don't say a word and you just want to put your body standing there, or if you have a loud voice and you have lots to say it. I just need you to show up and to be there.
We need to be notified, and we weren't notified. No, I wasn't.
No, no one.
Nobody was notified.
No. No, I have one, I sent in the Freedom of Information Act letter, and the information I got from Judge Newsom was there was one letter that invited anybody in Dike to go to the Sulphur Bluff meeting, and it was to Jonas Helms.
Huh.
That was the only letter that showed up in his stack of papers this thick. The only letter that he showed that got sent was to Jonas. I didn't find any of your names on any other letters in any of that. Or mine.
Real quick, I forgot that the toxin that is in these panels is called cadmium. It's a heavy metal, and it's not supposed to leak out of these panels. Okay? Now, NG, when you ask them what the panels are made of, they say glass, silicon, and less lead than a shotgun shell. He leaves out, Ryan Economy for NG, he will continually leave out the cadmium, the actual heavy metal that sucks up the energy from the sun. Okay? This stuff is not supposed to ever leave those panels. The problem with the panels is that the panels that NG is going to buy is from a non-disclosed South Asian country. The good stuff, the good panels, the regulated panels are made here in the United States. They're expensive. They won't buy those. The second tier panels are from China. They say those are too expensive and they won't buy those. So we're getting panels from a South Asian country that he won't even name. And I promise you that these are not going to be well-made modules at all. And they're not supposed to be underwater or have flood water on them. And whether it's 5 or 10 years from now, I guarantee you go and test that clay and you're going to find that cadmium in the soil, is the bottom line. Yes, ma'am.
Would you explain a little bit more about eminent domain on this thing, this solar panel farm?
Right. I don't think they've initiated that. Now, they would have, from what I understand, eminent domain is getting the federal government to come out and, like, they did this with this KV line. They applied eminent domain for the KV line, 10, 20 years ago when they put that through. I don't think that this project would get the federal government support to come in and start pulling wires under the ground. That's what they want to do. People that don't sign, like my mom, they want to start running wires and all sorts of stuff underneath the ground. Yes, ma'am.
Is it true that it's got to be associated or close to with this main power line that's running across here? That has something to do with where they put this thing?
Yeah, I mean, they'll need panels. They've got those inverters, like I said, those big shipping size container inverters will line the KV line. And then west and east of that will be just panels. But they can, as long as they've got connecting panels, they can go out as far as they want.
I went to see Judge Newsom personally in November, and I said, talk to me about this. I mean, basically all that he continued to say to me was, Cynthia, it's just business. When I asked if the county had made any arrangements for with broken panels, worn out panels, where are you going to deposit this stuff? He didn't have answers. Who's going to tend to broken panels, storms, hailstorms, all the things that, all of us know how this wind blows out here. We never know, a piece of tin off one roof a barn roof can go in and, I mean, what kind of damage is just that gonna cause? We all know how this goes. No answers. He just kept saying, don't worry about it, it's just business. And it'll be good for all the smaller farmers. And I held up the map, I said, show me one. Where? I said, I see Jonas, Betty Tubb, and Mary J. Miles. That's all I see. Who? Where? Who? And he just would smile. So it's been difficult, and I empathize truly to try to find out information. Trust me, Michael and I mean, this has turned into a full-time job, and it's
taken a year to try to figure out what's going on.
Well, I'm like the fellow over here. What gave them the authority to go to Wade Bartley? That's right. School districts. What gave them the authority to go into them and them say, yeah, we can do this?
we're not incorporated. We're not incorporated, so we're just supposed to be taken care of, kind of overseen by the commissioners and the county judge.
Specifically Wade Bartley.
Wade Bartley was supposed to take care of his
Knox
community.
County Road.
Well, supposedly there's money set aside that will be used to repair everything in the next 2 to 3 years, after the project is finished being built. Now, they do have issues on getting in and out of Jonas's property, and we don't know. We don't know what they're going to do.
Okay, yeah, because I know that you had touched on that before and I hadn't heard anything about it. But like, even if you don't live next to it, you're going to have to deal with the roads being torn up and all the traffic and heavy machinery.
Oh, it'll be massive. It will be a nightmare for 2 years around.
Okay,
Michael, the guy in the red shirt, the ball cap glasses right there in front, straight in front of you.
Oh, yes, sir.
My wife yesterday, a gentleman called her while she was in Atlas from this company. And my wife was asking him all kinds of questions of where this was going to be, how it was going to work and whatnot. And he told my wife yesterday that it's going to be directly behind my house and part of Barbara Green's place. That's what he told my wife yesterday.
What's your name?
Chris Moore. And I live right by the water tower.
Yes, that's correct. Jonas will be, because Jonas is on the other, behind you.
Yes.
That's correct.
Did they say Green had signed?
No. I don't know. I told my wife, I said, I don't know exactly what's going on with Barbara. I didn't say she did anything or what. That's what the gentleman explained to my wife about it.
Yes, but they will be behind you.
They'll be right across the fence.
To access this acreage that they've got, they're going to have to cross someone to get to that, right?
Well, I'm kind of in the middle. I'm between, my west fence line is Jonas Helm and Mary Jean Miles. And then it's me, and then it's Betty Tubb. So if I don't, and I've got the KB line. So if I don't sign, I'm not real sure how they're going to figure out how to get from my west fence line over
Well, they have to get an easement from you to cross over.
Well,
here?
they've talked to me about that, and I don't have to do that.
Well, that's what I'm talking about.
I mean, I don't have to do anything except have a picnic on my property and have a nice time.
Are the people talking, like the man with the 1,200 acres and the other big people, are they talking to you all about why they did this, or have they had anything to say?
Landowners' rights. They can do what they want to do on their land. And Jonas Helm said, and I don't care if I call him out, when my mom talked to him this summer about signing that option, he said, don't you go around and telling anybody, because it's nobody's business what I'm doing on my land.
He repeated that several times. He said, now, don't go talk to anybody about this. This is private business. You don't need to be calling me, and you don't need to be telling anybody. I said, well, but Jonas, I'm right next to you. You know, you and I just replaced an entire fence line. And whatever comes off you flows into me. So it kind of does involve me. He said, it doesn't involve you in any way. Nothing flows off me into you. And I said, yeah, it does.
So Wade Bartley brought that up to me. He and I had it out in the hallway of the county courtroom a couple of weeks ago. And my reply was, it's landowners' rights the other way around. You want to come in and put an industrial solar project across my fence that pollutes my property and decreases my land value? That's my landowners' rights. And that's where I file lawsuits. You know, why is Jonas more important than me? It's more important for Jonas to make millions of dollars on this solar project than it is for me to be polluted and my land value to go down. That's my landowner's rights, in my opinion. Yes, sir.
Yes, Michael, a lot of the research done here seems to indicate, as you mentioned, this project to be a hoax. Can't your attorney file an injunction in that regard against this project?
We don't know. She's looking at it. We had a good meeting on, what, Monday? Conference call on different options. I mean, one of the big options that she's looking at is the wetland. That the map that NG is using is a FEMA flood zone map, and it is data insufficient and incomplete. So the flood zone shown on the FEMA map isn't
On our own property.
Well, I guess your right would be not to sign the option.
I'm not going to.
The solar.
Anyway, I want everyone to hear what we have, what you can't go on your property. They put up gates, they put locks on the gates, they've got raised wire.
Oh, right, if you do sign?
No, sir, I did not sign it.
Right, but if you were to sign, yeah, they officially would own that acreage, and you couldn't go near it. You know, if you were to sign. Now, in terms of, you know, you being a landowner next to it, what right do you have? We're working on it.
Yeah.
To see how we can push back on, you know, I have a right for my soil not to be polluted. Oh yeah. Let me introduce, now this is Ben Jones over here for Texas Conservation Alliance. And there's Janice Bezanson, and she's the senior policy advisor. Ben's the executive director. Now I worked for Ben at the Dallas Zoo. Ben hired me as an intern back in 2016. And I don't know a bigger East Texas tree hugger than Ben Jones. Ben, where were you born?
I was born down in Nederland.
Okay, all right. So he's down in the piney woods down there. But you know, when Mom and I figured out just the sheer deforestation that was going to occur, I called Ben, and he said he was, you know, on the board of the Texas Conservation Alliance, and you know, they would start to try to advise us on how to deal with this nightmare that we're looking at. So. They're here kind of observing right now, seeing how many people are for the solar project or against it. And so hopefully we can kind of get it cleared up with the Texas Conservation Alliance on where this town stands. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I put up a billboard up there on the interstate.
Well, I'm going to get in the middle because my voice doesn't carry very well. I have to make it clear that Texas Conservation Alliance hasn't taken any position on this, so I'm not speaking officially for the organizations. But what I've been doing for the last 30 years of my life is helping rural families like you organize against projects that come in and impact them. Particularly, I've worked on a lot of big giant reservoir projects where there's a lot of eminent domain issues involved. And what I told Cynthia I would be happy to do, and I'm just doing this as as an individual who's experienced at these things, is help y'all analyze where are the points in all this that you can make a difference. Because you're already getting it. I mean, I can hear it from the comments. You need to be leaning heavily on your county officials. Particularly your county commissioner, but not just your county commissioner, your county judge and all the county commissioners, because they all had to vote that tax abatement to make, and they all did it without talking to you. There's been quite a bit of talk about an environmental impact statement. There's actually multiple levels that the federal government has, and a full environmental impact statement is usually reserved for a much bigger public project. But there's another level called an environmental assessment. And the thing that the Corps of Engineers is most focused on is impacts to wetlands. So if this is going to wind up having a lot of issues with runoffs and impacting creeks and causing creeks to be filled in, then there is a potential to require an environmental assessment.
And so one of the things, I think Michael or Cynthia one has already talked with someone about the Corps of Engineers, and they said, yes, we'll have to look at this. And sometimes they don't require an environmental assessment. Sometimes they use kind of these general permits that kind of rubber stamp things. But if it's a sufficient impact, then they will do a site-specific, issue-specific assessment, or require the developer to. So these are all things that y'all need to be providing input to, like the guy that drove around and saw while water was flowing. I mean, that kind of information will help the Corps of Engineers make a decision whether or not to require the environmental assessment. What Cynthia was talking about making a lot of noise. I mean, if you can get media here, if you can talk to the Sulphur Springs paper, any of the TV, whatever TV stations you watch, tell them that y'all were not notified. Y'all were not brought into this. It's just happening without you. And it's happening right in literally in your backyard. And that kind of attention can, first of all, influence your elected officials who seem to be going along with this. It will influence the developer. It could influence the developer. It might not influence the developer. They're in Paris, France. They may not care. But the more groundswell there is of attention to this, the more people will start saying, I don't want to be part of it. I'm not going to sign. I'm pulling out. The people who are in get nervous. The elected officials get very nervous. So joining together, I would recommend, I think you've already formed a group that has, what did you call it?
Save Dike from solar.
Save Dike from solar. Yeah, solar itself is a good thing if it's properly sited. But what we've got happening here is solar being put in place that's impacting people's lives. It's impacting the native environment. It's causing problems that, for you, when you're not getting the benefit. And so that's why this public attention, not just a petition, but you need to be try to get media, try to get as much energy that here in the county generated and then even further out of the county, and get your elected officials in the county to realize that they're on the wrong side of this. And it just might have, maybe it will be 3 years before the vote, but they're already looking at it, I promise you. They're already wondering, is this going to affect whether they get reelected or not? So,
Thank you, Janice.
any questions? Is there anything there?
All I have to say is the obvious, and it's so obvious to you, but your town is beautiful. You know, your forest here is incredible. This post oak forest is amazing, and in the next couple of weeks we're really going to see it. The red buds are blooming. Won't be long before even more in this greenery here and the land. It's such a special way of life. Just driving around and seeing the cow-calf stuff and everything, it's a special place. Like Michael said, I grew up down in southeast Texas in a really industrial area. And I'll tell you, maybe some of you have experience with it too. That's not where you want to live. You know, the blight and the poverty for the community and the high cancer rates and all of that is stuff I know that's pretty obvious you don't want. So I'll speak from personal experience, you know, from coming from down there, that you've got something really special right now, and I see why you want to fight to keep it that way. And I think it's really encouraging to see you all come out and make your voices heard, so keep up the great work.
This won't be our last community meeting. It's just the first of many, I hope. And I want everybody to make a commitment to yourself. Check on the neighbor 3 doors to your left, check on the neighbors 3 doors to your right. If you don't know them, it's a really good time to get to know them. If you get an email, make sure they get emails. If they get information that they think would be important, everybody needs to share. We have to have each other's back on this. And we only have, if they're planning Well, Ron Comey was kind of pushy. He was just, well, you know, we have to hurry right now because the blueprints are in operation. Well, we don't have to hurry right now. We don't have to do anything we don't want to. But supposedly they start building in September. So we have to act right now. I need everybody that can. I mean, everybody works. Everybody has a life. I appreciate that. If you can make a school board meeting, show up. If you can make the commissioners' courts every Monday at 9 o'clock, show up. Show up to Sulphur Bluff School. Show up everywhere you have a chance and write. I mean, I'm writing letters. Roger Fegley, I've written, the commissioners are about worn out with me, but I don't care. I'm still writing, constantly. Writing letters. They have to just put up with me. Write them letters. Send them emails. Show anything you can do to be loud and noisy and gather each other together. Yes, ma'am.
I just want to say I live on 3520, which is right across the street of where it's going to be, and they've already got survey crews out there working in the pastures. They've got little markers down on the ground for the airplanes to fly over. You know, they're working on this right now.
I know. I'm on 35. What's your last name?
Waters.
Oh, okay. You're Miss Waters. My gate is across from you.
Right.
Okay.
No, I'm not. Okay, yeah.
I think so.
One thing I meant to tell y'all, whenever elected officials have a formal meeting, first of all, they have to post it 72 hours in advance, and it gives an agenda. And this is true of the Commissioners Court, it's true of the city councils, it's true of school districts or state agencies, whatever. And at the beginning or end, they can choose which, of any public meeting like this, there's always a time period where anybody can come and talk for up to, sometimes it's 1 minute, usually it's a 3-minute limit. And you can talk about anything relevant to what this body does. It doesn't have to be on the agenda. And so if a whole bunch of you got together and you all went down to the Commissioners Court meeting, they're used to having 4 or 5 people sitting out in the audience who have some business there. If suddenly 20 or 30 or 50 people show up and everybody signs up, you have to sign up beforehand and say, yes, I want to speak, yes, I want to speak. And even if you don't want to speak, sign up and then stand up and say, well, somebody else already said what I had to say, I just agree with them, and sit back down. This is going to get their attention big time. And they have to sit there and listen to it because it's law that you can speak at that time period that's set aside. Now by law, because if it's something that's not on the agenda, they can't respond. So they won't say anything back to you, but they have to sit there and listen. And I would recommend that y'all get a list of when all the Commissioners Court meetings are and where they are and what all the rules are, because with COVID we've got some rules.
Where do you get that information?
It's on their website. If you go to the website, they're there every Monday morning, 9 o'clock. You don't have to look at the agenda. The agenda always allows general comments before they start the meeting. They have the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance, then they start with the general comments. You're given 3 minutes to speak on the general comments. It can be anything. If you don't feel comfortable speaking, just being there helps. Or if you don't feel comfortable speaking, just saying whatever you want to say, you can write it down and read it off. I've done that. I did that in February. I went there and I had a list of the grievances I had with them about the economic impact on this, and I just read it off to them. 3-minute speech, and I read it off to them.
Well, that's the deal. You know, we want to fight this, but how do you fight this?
You go to the commissioners.
Who do you contact?
You go to the Commissioners Court. That is going to be the biggest deal. If we go on a consistent basis every single Monday, we have 2 or 3 people speak, you're going to get the media involved because this is going to blow up. So we got to have people be consistent and go to every Commissioners Court meeting and speak.
And the newspapers always cover this. I mean, this is a standard thing for the media to cover is city council members and county commissioners court. I say always, of course it's not really always, but it's a very common thing. But do this with the school board too, because they also gave a tax break to these people. And you go to their schools. I mean, this is, your children go to their schools. So they're supposed to be listening to you. And I really encourage you to make yourself heard in this particular forum, just exactly like she said.
Well, the first time I went, they said you can have, Judge Newsom said you can have 3 minutes. And Cindy, what were we up there, 25?
Yeah.
I just kept going. I just didn't shut up. I just kept on rolling. And he didn't know how to shut me down. And so don't go in there thinking, oh, I only have 3 minutes.
You know, you can say a lot in 3 minutes.
You can say a lot in 3 minutes, but you know, they also don't know how to tell you to sit down. I've learned that. And then Michael went on after that. So, yes, ma'am.
So when we go to these, are we asking them to, or requesting them to just drop this tax abatement, take it back, end it?
Yes.
You can say whatever you want.
You can say whatever you want
concerning this. Whatever you want to say.
But she's absolutely right. The more you have a specific ask, the more they're going to listen to you. And it seems to me from everything I've heard today, I mean, I'm like I say, I'm totally new to this, but it seems to me the ask is rescind that tax abatement. Because if the company is depending on that tax abatement, then rescinding it is the thing that's going to give you the most leverage.
And I think as taxpayers, I think we need to be demanding it,
And
not
that's all.
asking it.
That's really the only thing the county has done on this. I mean, they don't have a permitting authority. They haven't told them yes, come, or no, don't come. What they've done is given them this advantage for coming. So that's really your big leverage point with the county and with the school district.
And I do know in Ellis County, Alpin Son went in there and they would not give him the tax abatement, and Alpin Son said, okay, we're not going to go here, we'll go somewhere else. And that was in December 2018. So I truly believe they came here right after Ellis County because they did not get the tax abatement from the county commissioners.
And ours signed right up. No questions asked. So.
And before I forget, we've got a Facebook group called Save Dike from Solar. So if you just Google or just get on Facebook and search Save Dike from Solar, our group will show up. And I'll be having updates on, you know, county commissioners meetings, school board meetings, and everything for you to keep up with. And I've also got some really good KSST radio articles, some good write-ups for the past couple of months. Good write-up on Engie, the French corporation that's behind all this. Good write-up on school board meetings, county commissioners meetings. So if y'all want some news articles, I have a stack. Yes, ma'am.
If we're complaining to Newsom and Bartley, what good is that going to do? Because if they've already, you know, like they're already in the pocket, basically, you know? What good is
Michael
that?
and I and Renee and Michelle, we can't do it by ourselves. I need everybody helping. And if you can think of, let's just pretend that Dike is a single body. And maybe you're just the toe, and maybe you're the arm, and maybe you're the leg. If everybody works together, it's going to be a better working body. And maybe you only have a little bit to give or a little time to give. Or maybe you have an education that could really help out here or a connection here. Everything matters. Whatever you've got to offer is crucial. It's important, and it's just part of the whole body that comes together. And if all you've got is to call somebody up and say, we can still do this, and just give a word of hope, people, that's huge. So, like JJ said, we've got other communities in Hopkins County that are in trouble because of what they've done. So if we can get our group together, show everybody this is what a good, strong group can do. But let's gather together with another group and another group.
Well, we can invite Sulphur Bluff in on one of these, and, you know.
So, I mean, we can, that's my point. But I wanted to get a Dike group meeting started. Number one, so you can know who I was, who he is, and Michelle, they're new, past year. I think Renee, most people know her lovely smiling face. But just, you know, raise your hand. Who's got hope? Come on. Come on. Come on.
I would say the mail out was good, and we need that.
Yes,
Little wheels roll big wagons.
Were our elected officials that voted on all this crap invited to this meeting?
I
They knew
did.
about it.
They knew about it, and it was available
And they
to.
denied to come here up.
They did. They chose not to
So
come.
they don't really give a damn what we think. Plain and simple. That tells you about your elected officials, right?
They don't want to hear from
They
us.
could care less about what we do in Dike, unless they're in control.
Okay. Did the petition board kind of go around?
Everybody got signed up.
Okay, did everybody receive one of these in the mail?
I did, and I want to say that was
Okay.
very helpful.
Okay, let me ask you this.
Very.
Did anybody receive one that was black and white?
Yes.
Okay, because I have some black and whites that did not get sent out.
Can I get a round of applause for Michelle who designed
I even told the commissioner's court, I told Judge Newsom, I said, you know what? There's a better way to communicate with your neighborhood in Dike. He said he put it in the news. I said, this costs $100 to get it into every mailbox, and P.O. box in Dike.
Amen.
So he said, oh, well then I'll have Wade look into that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right.